welcome to Roselle Reads. I'm Deja, and today we are going to do a fantasy reading vlog. I am currently in a very big fantasy mood, and I have not done a reading vlog in the longest, so I decided why not just do one now. The first one that I'm reading in this vlog is Black Sun, which I am very much enjoying. I feel like Naranpa's chapters are very slow for me. Like, I'm not in love with it, but like I see why they're there a little bit. But I really love Serapio's chapters. I am very intrigued by him and the pirate girl. Is it Chiala, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not listening to the audiobook, so I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce the names, but I am very intrigued to see like where the story goes. It's having a little bit of like a slow start, but like all the characters are like starting to come together now, and I'm very much enjoying my time just being in like a fantasy world where the romance isn't really like the key plot. And I think that's like the key for me, because this is actually like good fantasy, and I think that a lot of the romance fantasy that I've been reading, they really do focus on like the romance and not necessarily the world building, and I just needed like good world building, and this is definitely giving me that. I also started the Waning last night. When I went into this book, I was not having very positive thoughts about it in general, just because the way that the author markets it, she was like, oh, I got rejected this many times by this many agents, and like 2-3 months later I decided I'm just gonna publish it myself and it's out. And I'm just like, okay, but like this didn't go through developmental edits, other people didn't read it, and like all this other stuff, and I'm just like, I had mixed thoughts about that. But the only reason why I picked it up is because I'm participating in a Black science fiction fantasy book club, and I have to get to chapter 10 by tomorrow. So I was like, let me just bite the bullet and see like how it goes. And the first chapter, I can definitely see that I needed a little bit more editing, because it almost like meanders a little bit too much. There's so much description, which in a fantasy book is not necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like the amount of description that she's writing is almost slowing down the story a lot. I think what happens is interesting enough that I do want to continue it, but I think that some of the description could have been cut down a lot. And then there was also this like interesting like author's note talking about the mutilation of like female genitalia, which I don't know how this is going to play into the story, and I'm very curious to see like how it will, considering that this is supposed to be a YA book, and I wonder like how in depth they are going to go into that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that one goes. I also plan to start The Thief today because of the read-along that Heather at HEA Booktubes is hosting. So I have that one on audio, and I'm planning on listening to that one while I'm like creating like social media posts and all of that, because I really do need to get back on social media, especially because of other plans that I'm trying to work on. So yeah, the long-awaited social media break has been ending for a while, so I definitely need to do that. But for now, I'm going to edit a few of the videos that I filmed. I'm also trying to distract myself because I broke my fast, and I need to get back on my fast because it was just a lot, and I only broke it for 2 days, but like I can already tell the difference of when I was like fasting versus like when I was not, and I just need to get back on that fast. So I'm going to try to have a very busy morning, and yeah, I will check in later. Let's talk about the Waning, because I am on like a mini rant like reading this book. I just knew that this book was not going to be for me. Now, usually I would have DNF'd already, But I am part of a book club, and this book club is reading the book. And while they said that I could DNF it if I wanted to and still just join the discussions to see what happens, I kind of want to keep reading just to see if it ends as terribly as it started. Plus, I feel like I'm having a good time like ranting about this book, which is kind of weird for me because usually I find no joy in like ranting about a book. But I think because I am discussing it as a group with other people, it's definitely making the experience more entertaining for me. If it was just me reading the book, I definitely would have DNF'd already. But let's just go into this book. So I am currently like 40% in, and I feel like stuff has happened, but not a lot has happened, if that makes sense. I feel like this book is having a very big pacing issue because Mira, she doesn't really have any drive to her. Like, she's not a fully fleshed out character. I don't think any of the characters in this book are really that fleshed out, and honestly, I feel like I'm confusing a lot of them. They're really just playing into like the archetypes and everything that you would kind of expect in a YA fantasy. And I guess it's one of those YA fantasies that's like adult crossover because it feels like it should be YA, but it has like a few spicy scenes, which it had one spicy scene and it wasn't even that spicy. It was honestly pretty bland. And this is coming from a person that doesn't even read them that much, but yeah, it wasn't all of that. Outside of that, I'm mainly having a problem with the world. I'm just very confused on this society, and I know there's room for more explanation as you go on in the book, but the whole book is called The Waning, and it's supposed to be leading up to the waning ceremony, but my confusion is really around the waning and the fact that we still haven't even had the waning ceremony is weird to me because I'm almost 50% through the book and they still haven't really done anything leading up to that. Like, the author is really like introducing all these other things, but I think the main thing should have been like the waning, and I'm just having trouble like keeping up with like where the story is supposed to be going. Like, is the waning supposed to be like the last part of the book or something? But I don't know. And we already know that books like this, like the waning ceremony, is not going to go how it probably should, especially the first time that they went around. So yeah, I feel like the pacing is off. There's a lot of things being introduced. I don't seem to measure up to anything yet. So yeah, I don't know. We're getting to 50% and I just feel like we're still meandering everywhere. But getting back to the world and just like this waning ceremony that I don't really understand. So they have to split the goddess Adara's power between 5 girls, and they do that by making them go into this lake, I think, and I guess some of the women die and some of them like don't, but the 5 that are chosen, they split the power between them. So in the first chapter, the high priestess of the group, she ends up dying by some like fluke accident, I guess. I don't know, somebody kills her and then she kills the person that killed her. So I don't know, whatever. The reason why they have to go through this waning ceremony again is because there has to be 5 girls. But my thing with that is, why is it taking so long for them to go through like the ceremony again if it's supposed to be like corrupting their powers, if they don't have like leadership and stuff? Like, I feel like at this point, like a month or so has passed and nothing feels like it has changed since Annabeth, the high priestess, has died. I mean, I guess they can like control their powers a little bit more because she was like kind of stifling their powers, but they still don't even really know their powers and they're still trying to grow it. So I don't know, but you would think that they would start to be like a little bit more crazy, especially because it's kind of alluded to that if like only one person has like the power, then like she like will go crazy and it becomes uncontrollable and all of this. So that's why they split it between the 5 girls. But I'm like, if they keep like waiting for like another waning ceremony like to happen before they replace that girl, I'm just like, is it really that urgent? And then there's also that like if they go through the waning ceremony again and she's a high priestess, only one of the remaining girls from the original group gets to survive, and then it's like 4 other girls. But then I'm not sure if the waning ceremony, like they have the girls come together, like all of them together. And I'm also not sure like why they wouldn't just have 5 new girls to go through this different ceremony, and why that wouldn't just like kill them. Like it's just a lot of like whys to me that I'm not really feeling settled in this world to really understand, especially because a big focus of this book is the waning ceremony, and I just feel like we're not getting enough of that and all of the other things that this author is really like, explaining. I feel like it's going too much in depth about things that don't seem to be important, at least not at the moment. Like there was like this resistance introduced in the beginning, but first of all, the main character Mira is supposedly part of this resistance, but she's sleeping with a nobleman who is part of the regime that the resistance is trying to take down. So there's that. There's also the fact that the resistance has been around like since like her father and stuff, but there's not really any like mention of like what they've been resisting for that long and how they haven't really like done anything. I think they're just finally starting to do something when they send like 100 girls into the waning ceremony, and yeah, most of those girls are part of the resistance, so that's like the first thing that they do. She was also supposed to kill the king, which she didn't after like one failed attempt, so she's just been meandering, not doing anything. But yeah, I just don't think that the story is going anywhere. Like the beginning is very hard for me to get settled in, and I'm just frankly kind of bored. There's no characters that I really like. The waning ceremony, which would be like the draw, is not really there yet, and since I'm almost 50% through, I feel like there should be like this big moment, but nothing seems to be like leading up to something, and I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm getting out of this. I'm hoping that I'll finish this in the next week or so because, yeah, I don't want to spend a lot of time reading this book. And it is a fast read. And I'm sad that I'm not liking it, but I'm also like, I knew I wouldn't like it because it feels very Children of Blood and Bone. And while Children of Blood and Bone, the first book, was decent, I didn't think it was amazing like other people, but I thought it was at least a decent readable read. This one just feels like a half-baked version of that, but yeah, I'm not gonna rant too much on this book. When I finish it, I'll definitely have more thoughts and see if like any of my questions are answered. And I'm hoping that the book club is still as fun as I'm going on in this book. But yeah, this is just not a good book. But that will be it for now. I haven't really read much more of Black Sun because I was trying to catch up for the book club, but I'm thinking I'm going to read more of that today because I'm really enjoying Black Sun. I'm really enjoying that world and just the characters, and yeah, I'm just curious to see like where it goes. Let me check in later because I have a few things I want to do before I go to work, but yeah, I'll check in later. Okay, let's talk about Black Sun because I am, I think, like 100 pages from the end, a little bit over that, and this book is just reminding me why I love fantasy so much. Like I am just loving being in this world. I'm loving being with like these characters. I love the inclusion of like the gods and things, and just like these different like magical creatures and stuff coming in. I love that it's being like built towards like this ending. Like you kind of know that everything's going to like all come together, and I'm just oh, I'm in love with it so much. I will say that like some of the book I feel like was taking a little too long, but like I understand like why it was like taking so long because they were building up a lot of these things, and I just like I love it so much, and I know it's not going to be like a 5 star for me, but I think this would definitely be at least a 4 star, maybe even a 4.5, because I am having such a good time with it. I think my favorite character so far is probably definitely like Serapio. Like he's just such an interesting character to me. And then I guess it would be like Shiala, definitely like them. And I think my new favorite character is Nara's brother. Like, I don't know what it is, but his darkness intrigues me, and I am just like, yes, I want more of you. And I'm thinking it's going to lead me into reading dark romance because his little like introduction and the conversation that he was having with his sister, I was like, I don't know why you're intriguing me so much. Like, you went through a lot of stuff, but I am very intrigued by that character. As much as I want to finish this book right now, I'm going to put it down for now because I have a few other things that I want to do, but let me update you on other books so far. So I started The Thief. I only read like a chapter, and this one is also starting out really good. I am definitely intrigued, especially with like the characters and just like the way that it started out, because it starts off with like this guy who's a thief. I did think that it meandered a little bit in terms of like putting all this like background knowledge on just like the city, but overall, like, I'm very much intrigued so far with where the story is going to go. I'm hoping that after I finish Black Sun, I will be able to listen to more of that. But I'm trying not to be in the middle of so many fantasy books because I will probably start to get everything confused. So there are my thoughts on that one so far. As for The Waning, I have not really picked up that book since I did like my little mini rant. I read half of a chapter after I did that rant, and I'm just like, I'm not called to pick it up. Like, I feel like it's doing a lot of the same things that Black Sun is doing, but it's just not doing them well. Like, in The Waning, there's still like these priests, or not really priests, like the girls themselves are more like called to like the goddess. So I'm like comparing that to like Nara's character, and then there's also like a resistance happening, which is also happening in Black Sun, but of course in Black Sun is being done so much better. And I don't know, like the book has so much potential, but it's just not good. It definitely needed more developmental edits, and I don't know. I'm still going to try to finish it, but we'll see with like how my mood is, because the excitement that I was having, like just trying to see where this train wreck was going, is slowly leaving me as I'm finishing Black Sun. And I think that's because I can see what a good fantasy can be. And I just don't want to waste my time with something that's not going to get over 2 stars. So we will see like how the rest of it goes. I still want to join like the book club because I'm just very curious to see like why they're actually liking this book, but I think I want to read it so I know what they're talking about. But I think I'm done trashing it because yeah, it's just disappointing, and I don't know, I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. For now, it is a beautiful fall day outside, and I think I kind of want to go on a walk. I've been inside all day because I was joining like a writing sprint in the morning, and I did like a little bit of cleaning and everything, but yeah, I just need to go outside, especially because it is so nice, but I just hate being outside by myself. I might do like a short walk, and we'll see like what else I do. Y'all, I have finished Black Sun, and I am definitely giving it like a 4.5 stars because I really, really love this book. I feel like reading this book really just like solidified for me why I really love fantasy. Like, I just loved being in this world. I loved having like the characters be like so different from each other, but they're all like tying in to like this overall story. And then I just love just the cultures that are brought up in a fantasy world. And granted, most of the cultures I think are based off of real cultures in the world right now, or even like an ancient version of a world. And I do think that the way that authors can blend those magical elements with just like an interesting world is just amazing. You have kind of like a siren type of character, and then you have this interesting like godlike character that's not really like a god, but I don't know, they were like very interesting. But then you also have, of course, like a resistance leader, and then you have like a priest that is part of like I don't want to say like a cult, but I can't think of another word for them. But those other two are just like humans, but it's like the political intrigue because the characters are on like different sides, and I love seeing that. Like, you can see like their motivations, and you can see that they're not all like great and they're not all like terrible people, but I don't know, like you just find yourself like wanting to root for some over the others, but then like you're also like, I understand like why you're going with this and all of that, and some of them like even want to do good, but it's the organizations around them that are not allowing them to do that. And I really love just those complicated like character dynamics with like just the politics that happen and just the magical elements being in, and I just love it so much. And I think another thing with Black Sun that I'm really appreciative about is that like this was a solid first book, and it actually makes me want to read the rest of the series. I start so many series, especially fantasy, that like I'm just not called to read the rest of it. Like I don't care. This one definitely gave me a complete first book of a story, and it also left me with like enough that I want to continue and like see what happens, because it's not really like a cliffhanger ending. Like it wraps up, but like there's still like so much that like needs to happen, and I love it for that. I cannot wait to read the second book, even though I heard that one isn't as good, but I heard that the finale is amazing. So I'm happy that I'm finally back into like my fantasy groove, and I have to say it's because of Black Sun. Now that I have finished Black Sun, I am really going to focus my energy on finishing The Thief and The Waning. I will most likely finish The Thief first because the live show for The Thief is actually coming up very soon. So I have it on audiobook, and it's a fairly short book, so I don't think it'll take me long at all. So I'm thinking I will finish that. No, I know I will finish that before Saturday for the live show, because I do like participating in live shows. So definitely hoping to do that. And The Waning, I've been reading like a page at a time because I could not care less about what's happening, especially because I think I said in like the last clip, like comparing Black Sun with The Waning when they have like very similar elements in terms of like the fantasy world, even though like they're completely different. Like they have similar elements, but Black Sun just did it so much better, and The Waning has potential, but it's just not there yet. So yeah, I haven't been called to pick up The Waning. So I've just been reading like pages at a time, like not even completing chapters, because I really don't care. I'm trying to decide if I want to make those last two the ones that I read in this vlog, or if I should start another one. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do, but I will wrap up this check-in right now because I'm gonna go on another walk with my husband this time, and yeah, just wind down for the evening because work has been a lot. So I went to the library today and I got more books than I probably should have, but I'm going to do a quick little haul. So the reason why I even went to the library is because I had a hold, and that book is Favorite Star, which is the sequel to Black Sun, and I am excited to read it. So I was like, I just needed to get the sequel already because I am just in love with the world. Now, everything else I got was just things that I saw on the shelf, and I was just like, I want to read this. So the first one I have is The Bitter Truth by Shanora Williams. This one is a mystery thriller. I read The Wife Before by this author, and her books are very like quick to read. She almost gives me like a Frida McFadden vibe, but with a Black author. So yeah, I picked this one up. I also have The Silence Factory by Bridget Collins. I am just in a mood to get back into this author's writing because I really vibe with her writing, and I still have The Binding to read this month, but I'm just like, I feel like I'm going to want to read this one soon as well. And then I have When Among Crows by Veronica Roth. I have never really been a fan of this author's writing, but this is an adult novella that actually sounds very intriguing to me, and I actually haven't heard many people talk about it. The only person I have talked about it was Melanin Eclectic, and she wasn't really that big of a fan of it, so I'm just gonna see what I think of it because the premise sounds interesting. So yeah, I think I'm gonna try it out anyway. Another one that I haven't really heard like the best things about is Midnight Rooms, but I kind of want to try it just because I am in that like darker mystery thriller vibe right now, especially because spooky season is coming out, and I feel like it could be good. It really could, but I'm just not sure how it will work for me. So I'm gonna try this one, but we will see how it goes. And then the last one that I have is The Maiden of Crocodile by Jordan DeFlicco. I heard really good things about this. It's only like 300 pages, so I was just like, I'm going to try it. And I don't know, I feel like I could like this one. I'm hoping I really like this one. I really liked Raybear. Never read the sequel because I never heard good things about it. I'm hopeful for this, but it's also like YA, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But that is like my little haul from the library. And I don't know, the library is just like my happy place. I just needed to get more books. I'm hoping I will be able to get to all of them soon. I have been very good at sticking with my TBR, but now that I have these books, who knows if I'll actually end up sticking to it now. I hope so, but we'll see. Let's update on these books. I am now 51% of the way through The Thief, and I swear I almost DNF'd it today. Actually, in fact, I marked it as DNF on the story graph, and then I was listening to the live stream and I was like, let me see if it's even like worth it, like to continue it, because I feel like it has interesting elements. I'm intrigued with like the political stuff happening, but the problem is I hate travel fantasy so much. I hate when characters have to like go on the road or something and they have to like get to a certain place, and I'm just like, it's so boring. It is so boring to read, and they're trying to make it interesting with like these gods and just these different stories that are happening in the world, but I'm just like, I don't care. And I like the character voice. I think his name is like Jen or something like that, and I like his voice, but I feel like he's a little bit too passive. Isn't the right word for me. Like, I don't know what it is about his character that I'm just like, you're just kind of boring to me. He definitely has all of these like little comebacks and stuff and just all of that, but like I think at this point, like, he's not very like active in like the plot. It feels like they're just waiting until they get to this moment where he has to go steal something, but it's just making it very boring to read. And they're trying to have all these like conflicts and stuff happening between like the characters. Like, he has this like nemesis or whatever that I can't even remember the name of because there's so many characters to keep track of also, and I've just been zoning out in the audiobook because they're just traveling right now. He has this like nemesis that like they're going at it or whatever, and I don't know. They said that the ending is worth it from what I caught of the live, because I didn't want to watch all of it because I didn't want to be completely spoiled, but it seemed like it was a common sentiment that a lot of people just were not a fan of the beginning part. So I'm just gonna push through it because I feel like I'm almost there. It's very short, so I feel like I'll be able to finish it hopefully this weekend. But yeah, I'm not that big of a fan right now, but I'm hoping that the ending will make me want to pick up the sequel. I don't know, we'll see. As for the Waning, I still have not picked up that book since the last time I talked about it. I need to actually read it sooner rather than later because the book club is meeting again on Tuesday, so I need to at least get to chapter 21. The thing is, I was hating reading the book, and now I have no inclination to like read it at all. So I'm just like, should I just DNF it and just call it a day? But I'm also like, I don't want to DNF it because I spent $5 on the ebook, and I'm glad I could support a Black author, but I'm also like, I feel like since I spent money on it, I should probably finish it. If it's a library book, that's a different story, but I spent money on this. I don't know. That's where my head is at right now. I'm thinking I really want to DNF it, but I just DNF'd another book, and I don't know. My brain is all over the place right now, and I'm in the mood to read good fantasy, but I'm also like, the fantasy that I'm currently reading is just not cutting it for me. I think I started off with the wrong book. I should have ended with Black Sun to end this video on a high, but now I'm in the middle of two books that I want to DNF. So I don't know, I might start a new one because I do have other fantasy on my TBR for this month that I want to read. But for now, I'm going to eat lunch or maybe eat something. I don't know. I'm gonna do something and I will check in later. All right, I am here to wrap up this vlog because I decided that I'm not going to finish The Thief in this video. Now, I could have listened to the audiobook on my way to work, and I most likely could have finished it. But I have just not been called to finish it at all. Like, I think after the live show, I'm not in a rush to complete it. And so I don't know if I'm going to soft DNF it, because even from the live show, like I said, like they said that the travel part was very like slow and they weren't really like getting into it, but it was the ending that really got them into it. So I still feel like I want to complete the book, but I'm just not going to do that in this video because I have to upload this tomorrow. So right now, I guess I would give The Thief maybe like a 2.5, 3 star, because I'm not really enjoying my time reading it, but I can see the elements of it that make it good. But yeah, right now that's what I would rate it, but we'll see what my final rating is when I actually finish it. As for the Waning, I DNF'd that one. That one was definitely something that needed more developmental edits. And actually, I had another book club meeting with that book, and the things that they were saying happened in like the next 2 chapters definitely made me think that I made the right decision in DNFing it, because some character has laser eyes and she has the sonic voice thing. And not only that, like all of this stuff happens, but they don't really get more insight into the world. So there's still like a lot of questions, and we're at the point where it's like 100 pages left, and they said that they still haven't even had like a waning ceremony, and that like half of the girls are dead. So it's just like, how are you still gonna have a waning ceremony if most of them are dead? So I don't know what's going on with that book, but I'm glad I DNF'd it, because yeah, it was just not for me, to say it nicely. And the highlight of this vlog was of course Black Sun. I absolutely love that one. I still have all of the feels from like reading and following those characters, which I really appreciate, because I have been struggling with fantasy, or just like my reading in general. Like I think because I am trying to find more indie reads that I really like, I feel like I've been finding more duds in a lot of them. And I guess I won't even say that it's just indie, because I feel like books nowadays are just not as good as they used to. Most of the books that I'm really loving have been backlist titles. There was a conversation about like things not being developmentally edited anymore, which I think you can definitely tell with like the books that you're reading. It's kind of disappointing, but you know, I'm glad I found one gem, because I am definitely going to be reading A Fevered Star, which I heard isn't the best, but I heard Mirrored Heavens is amazing. So I'm definitely going to continue into that series, because I just want to be with those characters again. I want to see what happens, and I really love that series. So I'm not sure if this is a fail or a win in terms of my reading vlog, because on one hand, Black Sun reminded me why I really love fantasy, but then the other 2 books just made me hate fantasy. So I don't know. I don't know what to call this vlog, but I guess at the end of the day, I'm happy that I read a book that I really enjoyed. So that will wrap up this video. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. Please let me know if you have read any of these books, because I would definitely love to chat about them in the comments. And if you don't want to do that, you can just leave a sun for Black Sun, because that was the highlight of this entire video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will check in with you in my next video. Bye!